Welcome back to Press Review. Before we go into our Mideast top stories, let's start as usual with the papers here in the UK. Starting with The Guardian, which features a headline regarding the US National Security Agency collecting over 200 million texts daily from across the globe. The paper also says that Chancellor Osborne has called for a rise in the minimum wage to £7 per hour, while trade unions want to push for the living wage. And the Independent front page features a shocking picture of a Palestinian child who died in Yarmouk refugee camp in Damascus. 18,000 Palestinians are trapped inside the camp as supplies and medical aid have been cut off, forcing those trapped inside to subsist on a diet of animal food, water with salt and leaves. The Telegraph also reports on the Chancellor Osborne's suggestion to raise the minimum wage and reveals that medics have warned that women are leaving motherhood too late. The Office for National Statistics has shown that 20% of women now reach age 45 without having any children. And now let's take a look at the headlines in the Middle East. Starting in Israel with the Jerusalem Post, which says that Netanyahu has slammed the EU for hypocrisy on building of settlements, saying the EU pushes peace further away and that it was time to inject some fairness into the discussion about settlements. The comments came as Netanyahu returned from a meeting with Amman with King Abdullah II, in which the settlement issue was apparently discussed. And according to the Arab News, Saudi Gulf Airlines, a newly launched national carrier, has ordered 26 new aircraft from Canada's Bombardier Aerospace for a total of $2 billion. And the Gulf News reports that the trial over the death of former Lebanese Prime Minister Rafik Hariri has opened amid tensions. 4 Hezbollah members went on trial in absentia at a special UN tribunal on Thursday, accused of murdering Lebanon's former Hariri Prime Minister in the 2005 car bombing, as sectarian tensions ran high in the Middle East countries. The paper also reveals the announcements of the nominees for the 2014 Oscars. And the Arab Times says that the rebel infighting in Syria has been claiming lies and that the Geneva II conference will not solve the Syrian crisis. The paper also reports that Iraq has attacked Anbar military strongholds as Al-Qaeda asks Fallujahs to fight. The paper also says that Egypt has backed a new constitution and that al-Sisi may run. And let's go in depth now into Syria as the country prepares for the imminent Geneva II conference. A piece features in Al Monitor about the forthcoming Geneva II conference. It titles "Splits in Syrian Opposition Coalition Ahead of Vote." The writer Antuna Issa starts by quoting US Secretary of State John Kerry urging a positive vote from the coalition, reiterating that the Geneva Peace Conference is not the end but rather the beginning, the launch of a process that is the best opportunity for the opposition to achieve the goals of the Syrian people and the revolution. Issa continues to say that the coalition faces complications if it chooses to attend the talks in Switzerland, with the Syrian National Council threatening to withdrawal should a yes vote pass. A source told Al Monitor, if the coalition decides to go to Geneva, the council as a bloc will withdraw. Mr. Josh Sabra will issue a statement saying that the council withdraws from the Syrian coalition and that no member will remain. Hadi al-Bahra, secretary of the coalition's political committee and advisor to President Ahmed al-Jarbar, recognized the potential split that could occur within the coalition if it proceeds to Geneva II. On the other hand, Bahra is one of the senior officials supporting the coalition's presence in Geneva II. He says, "We have to go to Geneva and to fight the political front as you are fighting the military front, and you give it your best and try to keep it on track, because without a political horizon, there's no solution to the crisis itself," he said. The writer continues to say many within the coalition camp are unconvinced Geneva II will produce significant results for them and fear the process will drag to no end. "We already think that Geneva has no chance of success, it's going to be a waste of time, and everybody knows this," sources said. And the writer concludes, the Turkish government is pushing us very hard to go to Geneva, one source said, adding that domestic political concerns are prompting Ankara to try to seek a resolution. This comes a day after Turkish President Abdullah Gül offered a rare public rebuke of the government's policy on Syria, urging Ankara to recalibrate its approach. And Isa adds, by reiterating his colleagues at Al Monitor, Semih Hidiz, who previously wrote that Turkey has been gradually shifting its Syria policy due to developments it has no control over, noting Foreign Minister Ahmed Davutoğlu's support for Geneva II. And let's go now to neighboring Lebanon and look into an analytical piece in the Daily Star by Michael Young, who titled it, Why Foes of a Unity Government Are Wrong. Young looks into the Lebanese forces leader Samir Geagea, who is trying to make his way back into the hearts of the March 14 coalition by opposing a government with Hezbollah, adding that Geagea played the populist card this week, stating at a rally in Ma'rab, where he resides, for the late Mohammed Shatah, who was killed by a car bomb in December. Geagea's opposition to a unity government was echoed by other March 14 figures that Saad Hariri, whose antipathy towards Hezbollah is second to none. He has endorsed it suggests that he has Saudi approval. International pressure has mounted to fill the political vacuum in Beirut amid disturbing signs that its perpetuation may lead to a decisive breakdown in sectarian relations. On the other hand, Young looks into Hezbollah's willingness to compromise. After a month of deadlock, he thinks this is the year that Hezbollah hopes to consolidate its efforts, its hold in Lebanon. First by replacing President Michel Sleiman with someone more compliant, then by holding parliamentary elections on the basis of a law that divides its adversaries in March 14. To advance on both fronts requires a minimal level of political consensus in Lebanon. And on a lighter remark, Young says, as for talks of a neutral government, or better still a government of technocrats, one wonders what supporters of such a project have been smoking. The Mikati government collapsed last year under multiple pressures, despite the backing of a majority in parliament and despite the fact that Hezbollah did everything to keep it in place. And Young concludes, imagine what a neutral government would face, one that has no political clout and whose decisions are bound to arouse opposition from all sides of the political spectrum, its success necessary to no one. He adds, it takes more than intimidation to have one's way in Lebanon. If Hezbollah or March 14 seek to pursue the battle over Lebanon's future, it will have to be patient, flexible, and above all, united. The formation of a new government is a necessity today. At the very best, it will help preserve a country worth fighting over. And now let's take a look at the top headlines from international papers. The National Post reports on Oscar nominees but says debating who's off the list is the real sport. The paper also mentions a security overreaction during an airport scare. The Washington Post reports that Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki has appealed to the US for weapons to combat the resurgence of al-Qaeda-linked militants in western provinces of Iraq, and has also asked for US troops to train its counter-terrorism forces. And The Australian says the growth in jobs has been the worst for 20 years as the Australian labour market struggles to recover. The paper also features a photograph of a bushfire as the country struggles to deal with the increasingly hot temperatures. And China's Global Times features a photo of an Afghan boy holding a toy gun and says that economic development is a vital weapon to stop the country falling back into civil war. The paper also reports that the US is losing its geopolitical grip on the Pacific as the rise of China signals a risk to influence of the superpowers in the region. And for more updates, visit levant.tv. Thanks for watching us today. Bye for now.